Hola, ¿qué tal? ¿Cómo estás? Welcome back to Spanish Classes with Professor Jason here on YouTube. In this class, what I want to talk about is the differences in usage between the preterite and the imperfect, the two verb tenses used to talk about past actions, events, or conditions in Spanish. Now, as you know, I've already uploaded a lesson on how to conjugate in each of these tenses, these two tenses. So there is a lesson on conjugating in the preterite and the imperfect. But this lesson is going to focus on when to use which, okay? But since I do give examples, you're going to see the forms again as well, all right? Now let's go ahead and begin with when to use the preterite or the simple past tense in Spanish, okay? As a general rule, preterite forms are used to narrate completed actions in the past. So, we're going to use the preterite to talk about a completed action, one that happened or took place and is considered finished in the past. For example, yo pedí una ensalada. Yo pedí una ensalada. Or ellos llegaron anoche. Okay, those are completed actions in the past. Don't worry about the translations. You'll see them in the subtitles. I'm not going to say them just to save time. Okay. We're also going to use the preterite to state specific times when actions occurred. Okay, when we know, when we're given the time, the date, the hour specifically, or to talk about the time span, the duration, as long as the action being considered is considered as completed. Okay? For example, Pablo jugó al fútbol el jueves pasado, specific reference to time. Or Ana vivió en Londres por 3 años. Okay? Even though she was there for a long time, it's being considered a completed event or action in the past. All right? We're going to use the preterite when stressing the beginning or the end of an action. Ella empezó a llorar. Or nosotros terminamos la tarea. Okay, beginning, empezó, ending, terminamos. We're going to use the preterite to narrate a sequence of completed actions, 2 or more completed actions in the past. Rosa trabajó, limpió la casa y miró una película. 3 completed, distinct actions in the past. Okay, we're going to use the preterite when describing sudden changes in physical states or emotional or mental conditions. So if I want to say, yo me senté en el sofá, I'm going to use the preterite to describe a sudden change in my physical orientation. I sat down. Or ella se levantó de la cama. She got up from bed. A change in her physical state or orientation. An example of a physical condition or an emotional condition, Carlos se enfermó. He got sick. Okay? He's not a sick person, he got sick. Or Luisa se sintió mal. She felt bad or badly. Okay? We're going to use the preterite as well to narrate an action that interrupts another ongoing action. So sometimes something will be going on and an action comes along and interrupts that ongoing action. And that interrupting action's in the preterite. Okay? So for example, José me llamó mientras yo miraba la televisión. So I was watching TV and José called me. Interrupting action is in the preterite. Alright? Now, let's talk a little bit about when to use the imperfect tense, el imperfecto. Whereas, as we just saw, the preterite forms are used to narrate completed actions in the past, the imperfect is more often used to describe conditions in the past, or to describe actions as ongoing or in progress, without necessarily stressing their beginning, ending, or completion. The imperfect is also used to imply that an action recurred an indefinite number of times in the past, or was habitual. Okay? So, we're going to use the imperfect, first of all, to describe an action as in progress, ongoing, but not completed. For example, María leía el periódico. Or Juan y Jorge caminaban por el centro. Okay? We're not saying these actions are completed or marking the beginning or the end. We're just saying they were happening, they were ongoing in the past. Again, look at the translations for María leía el periódico or Juan y Jorge caminaban por el parque. Notice that English uses was or were with the main verb in these cases, so that might give you an indication that you should be using the imperfect, okay, if you want to say was or were with the main verb. We're also going to use the imperfect to say what people used to do or would always do, or to imply that an action recurred over time. Okay? For example, mis amigos jugaban a las cartas los jueves. La familia Suárez iba a la playa todos los veranos. Again, pay attention with the translations because This use of the imperfect corresponds to using phrases such as used to or would always in English. Okay? We're going to use the imperfect likewise to describe physical states or emotional conditions, not changes. Remember, that's preterite. Not changes in physical states or emotional conditions, but to just describe them in the past. Okay? Ella estaba muy triste y le dolía la cabeza. We're just describing her physical or emotional state in the past without implying a sudden change. We're going to use the imperfect also to describe the characteristics of people, places, or things in the past. Okay? An example with a person. Mi abuelo era muy simpático, usaba lentes y tenía pelo blanco. Okay? I'm just describing somebody in the past. Okay? Or a place or thing. Nuestra casa era muy grande. Our house was very big. Okay? We're going to use the imperfect also to describe background conditions or actions or to set the scene for other events. Okay? For example, las personas conversaban y esperaban el comienzo del evento. So the event hadn't happened yet. What was going on before the event started? Okay? Las personas conversaban y esperaban el comienzo del evento. We're going to use the imperfect when referring to people's ages in the past. Cuando Julio tenía 15 años, le gustaba leer. So whenever we describe age in the past, we use the imperfect. That's just a rule. We're also going to use the imperfect to describe an action that was in progress when interrupted by another action. Remember the previous example, right? Él me llamó mientras yo miraba la televisión. Here's another one. Yo escuchaba música cuando llegó mi papá. Yo escuchaba música cuando llegó mi papá. So I was listening to music. Again, you hear the was, and it's an ongoing action in the past, interrupted by a preterite action. My father arrived. Okay? Yo escuchaba música cuando llegó mi papá. This also applies, this idea of ongoing versus interrupting action applies to weather conditions, for example, or the time of day. Llovía y hacía mucho frío el día que ganamos el campeonato. Or eran las 6:30 cuando llamaste. It was 6:30 when you called me. Okay? So, weather referring to time, hours in the past. Okay? Okay, admittedly, this has been just a very brief introduction to uses of the preterite in the imperfect tenses. You can rewind and sort of slow it down, take some notes maybe. But remember, as general rules, the preterite forms are used to narrate completed actions in the past, while the imperfects more often used to describe conditions in the past or actions that are ongoing or in progress. Okay? Hope you liked that. Hope that was helpful. We'll see you next time here with Professor Jason. Ciao. Hasta luego.